thanks for checking this out. I've been gone for longer than expected, but I'm back. So let's think more about native flutes and what we can do with them. Grab your favorite Native American flute in A, and let's get started. A while back, I made a video about single tonguing. You might see a link for that video somewhere up here. There's one in the description box also. I'm sure you've been practicing diligently ever since. What we want to look at today is how you can change the feel of a musical phrase or of an entire song if you want to, just by making simple changes to the single tonguing pattern that you're using. We're going to start with a short sequence of pitches from beginner mode, basic scale if you prefer. You may remember that I like to number the fingerings for this mode from 1 through 6, starting at the bottom. So like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to play this little sequence of pitches, and here's a graphic with the fingering numbers in order so that you can follow along if you want to. Try it with me. We are single tonguing each note in the sequence right now. Good. Okay, I'm going to try that with my metronome app set at 108 beats per minute. That's pretty relaxed, and I should be able to play one note per beat without too much difficulty. Let's try playing through that together. I'll give you a count off of 4, and then we'll go through it once. All set? 1, 2, ready, and... If you need to rewind and try again, no worries. Right now, we just have a string of notes that don't have much character. We're going to start to give them a little bit more of a melodic feel by making some of the notes longer and some of the notes shorter. Let's duck over to the keyboard for just a little bit, and I'll show you what I mean. If I play this, many of you will say, hey, that was a descending major scale, and you would be right. But what do you hear when I play this? Many of you will recognize that as the first phrase of a familiar seasonal song. And even if you don't know the song, you will hear something that sounds more like a melody to you than just a simple scale. But the only difference between the two was that one had rhythmic variety. Not all the notes were the same length, and that gives it a certain character. We're going to keep things really simple here and limit ourselves to just 2 rhythmic values. We're going to call them short and long. And long is going to be twice as long as short. So for our purposes, short is going to last the duration from 1 click on our metronome to the next click. And so that means that long is going to last 2 clicks. All right? Now I'm going to do a very, very simple pattern here, just alternating longs and shorts, and I'm going to be my own metronome for a second here. So here we go. It'll sound like this. Long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. Long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. Easy enough, right? Play it along with me. Verbalize long and short. Here we go. Long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. All right. pretty basic stuff. Now, that's actually a traditional pattern for a lot of our music. Most of us call it a heartbeat pattern. Here's the pattern I'm going to use for our little melodic phrase, and you can see that it's mostly shorts, but there are a few longer notes mixed in. You can also see at the very end I've added a B with an S above it. That means when we get to the end of our lick, we have one beat to grab a breath and be ready to go on to the next bit. I'm going to try the new pattern now, and I'm going to leave the click at 108 beats per minute, and I'm going to single tongue each and every note. I'll try to play them all at the same dynamic level, so it's still going to feel pretty mechanical. I'm going to play it twice through, and I'll use that last short rhythm value to take a breath for the turnaround. Let's try playing that together. I'll put the sequence up for you to read the notes and the rhythm values, and I'm going to leave the click running at 108. Remember, we're going to single tongue each and every note. I'll give you a count off of 4 clicks. We're going to go through twice, so use that last short value to grab a breath and try to start again on the very next click. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and... So now we have some rhythmic variety in our melody. Let's look for some single tonguing choices that we can make that will help our listeners feel it one way or another. We're not just alternating simple longs and shorts like we did when we were clapping heartbeat pattern, but I can still use some single tonguing choices to help my listeners hear a heartbeat pattern. Look at our rhythm sequence here, and you'll see that we have 6 shorts, so that's a total of 6 beats, and then we have 3 longs, and remember that each long is worth 2 beats, so that means 6 more beats, so 12 altogether. And if you think back to our heartbeat rhythm pattern, it was 3 beats long. So if I take my 12 beats and I need 3 to make a heartbeat, that means we have enough here to make 4 heartbeats. Now, I've shown this in the way that I've written it down here. I've kind of grouped the beats together to show the 4 different heartbeats. And of course, we're not going to take extra time between the heartbeats. We'll still play right with the metronome, but that just gives us a visual representation of what we're trying to do here. You can also see that some of the notes have a T under them. T for tongue, and those are the notes that I intend to tongue. So if there's no T under a note, you just keep the breath going and move your fingers the way you need to produce that next note. So whenever there's a T along the way, then that note is going to get some special articulation. It's going to draw the listener's ear, and it will begin to help them hear the pattern. Notice that most of the T's are at the beginning of a heartbeat, and that really helps the listener identify what we're intending to share with them. Now, I'm going to play it for you without the metronome. I'll just keep my own beat for now, but I'm going to really exaggerate the tonguing so that you can really hear the pattern. And I'm going to back off the mic a little bit because when I tongue that hard, sometimes it overblows the mic. Get the idea? Let's try playing this new tonguing pattern together. Again, the click will be at 108 beats per minute. Try to let your body feel the heartbeat pattern and guide your playing. This time I'm going to give you a 2 heartbeat count off. Then we'll play through it twice, using that last short click to grab a breath for the turnaround. Here we go. 1 and 2, ready, go. I'm going to keep all of the patterns the same now, same sequence of pitches, same rhythm pattern, same tonguing. I'm just going to play it faster. And at this point, I can feel the heartbeat in my body enough that I don't really need the metronome. I'm going to play through it 4 times, and once I'm feeling good about it, I may even do a little improv, change it up a little bit along the way. All right, here we go. Okay, if you want to try it out, feel free to hit the pause button and play for a little bit. When you come back, we're going to look at how we can change up the feel of the melody just by making some simple changes in the tonguing pattern. If you are finding this helpful, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. It really does help. Now, ambiguity is a wonderful thing, and 12 gives us a real chance to explore some ambiguity. We have 12 pulses here, and so far we've been dividing them into groups of 3 to make a heartbeat rhythm. That meant we could make 4 heartbeats because, of course, 4 times 3 equals 12. But we can also group these in a way to hear 2 beats grouped together. So instead of 1 and 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 1, and you can see that that makes for a slightly faster beat, and it means that we can make 6 beats in total instead of 4. All right, now here's a graphic just like the one I did for heartbeats, except here I've tried to visually represent that we're now feeling 6 groups of 2 instead of 4 groups of 3. And there's a little bit of a problem here. When I got to the next to last group, there was a short and a long together in that group, and of course that makes 3 pulses. So I didn't want to show 3 pulses and make us have to change up the feel that way. So I split the long into 2 shorts, and the first part of the long makes the back end of that next to last group, and then the rest of the long begins the very last group. And then I've shown in the graphic that, hey, these are tied together. This isn't actually 2 shorts. It's 1 long that's been split across the beat. So it should feel fun when we get there. All right, and then I've added a new tonguing pattern underneath to reinforce this feel. And you can see that again, I've tended to use the tongue here, single tonguing, to indicate the beginnings of each grouping. All right, now I'm going to play through it a couple of times for you and give it a listen, see what you think. All right, so instead now of counting 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, and I'm trying to feel 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. So a really different feel from what we had before. I especially like the way that long feels, that last one getting tied across the beat. All right, let's try this together. And it's really important that you feel this in your body. So maybe it might help to tap your toe or something at the beginning of each group. It's important that you feel it so that you can help your listener feel it. Here we go. We're going to go through 4 times. You ready? Bump, bump, ready, and. Can you feel the difference between that and the heartbeat pattern that we were using before? And really the only change that we've made is where we're tonguing, right? And what we're feeling in our body as we do so. All right, let's go one bit deeper. I'm going to play 4 phrases in a row. I'm going to start with the heartbeat, then I'm going to switch it up to the straight beat. Right, we're going to call that straight beat when we group things in 2s. Then I'm going to go back to heartbeat, and then I'm going to end with straight beat. Right, now, I don't usually head bop that much what I'm playing, but I'm going to try to exaggerate as much as I can so that you can see what I'm feeling and see how it seems to change the speed of the music as we go from one to the other. Here we go. Starting with heartbeat. And all we're doing is making simple changes to the tonguing pattern, and you can hear what a big difference it makes in the way the music sounds and feels. So if you want to try it a bit, hit that pause button and practice a bit, and then we'll come back and try one more thing. All right, what I'm going to do now is play 4 phrases again, but I'm going to try to make it into more of a song-like pattern. So I'm going to start with heartbeat again, and then the second time through, I'm going to do heartbeat. So I'm going to do heartbeat back to back, may improv a little the second time around, change things up a bit. Then I'm going to, for variety, I'm going to switch to the straight beat pattern style. Then I'm going to come back to heartbeat to end, but I'm going to use a slightly different sequence of pitches to move the melody towards the bottom of the flute and make it feel like we have a little bit of an ending. All right, here we go. Well, we have moved pretty quickly from a simple little pitch sequence to a 4-phrase song that has kind of a nice feel about it, some nice variation about it. This is not how I usually make songs. This was just to demonstrate how we can make very, very simple changes in our tonguing patterns that will really change up the feel and character of our music. If you have a song that you've played many, many, many times, maybe try this yourself. Just change up the way you tongue it from what you usually do and see how it changes the character of the music when you do that. Now, I've got a little extra tag-on section at the end here about how we might show this in Western music notation for all of my fellow music geeks out there. I will not be offended if you duck out at this point because, you don't have to be able to read Western music notation to be able to feel these things and to be able to play these things. So if you're checking out now, many thanks for being here. Look forward to see you next time. If you found this helpful and enjoyed it, please hit that like and subscribe button. Maybe consider visiting my website, ronwarrenmusic.com. There's a link in the description box. When you get there, there are free streams of my music on the music page. You can sign up for a newsletter to find out what's coming up next before everybody else does. You can go to the store and find out about online lessons and workshop options, that kind of stuff. Maybe if you have a few extra pennies and are so inclined, consider dropping them in the tip jar on the music page. Every little bit helps and is really greatly appreciated. Okay, I'll see you next time, but if you're a music geek, stick around. Okay, let's think a little bit about Western music notation. Let's start with that second pattern that I called straight beat, and you remember that here we grouped 2 pulses together, so we were thinking 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and. Now, if I think of those original pulses as 1/8 notes, right, then we're talking about a simple subdivision of a quarter note beat. And we have 6 beats altogether here, so 2 measures of 3/4 seems to be like a good choice. Here's what it looks like, and I've used standard slurs to show the tonguing here. So this is pretty straightforward. I use MuseScore for notation. I find it to be really intuitive and really flexible, and it's shareware, as in free. Now, the heartbeat version gives us a different problem. Remember that here we took our pulses and put them into groups of 3s. So 1 and a 1 and a 1 and a 1 and I suppose a 3/8 time signature would work fine here. We would have 4 measures because we ended up with 4 heartbeats. But I think for the overall pattern, it might make more sense actually to group it 2 heartbeats per measure for 2 measures. Right? So What's going on here is we've taken 3/8 notes and grouped them together into a larger pulse, a dotted quarter note pulse, in other words, with 3 even eighth notes as the subdivision. Alas, we have no number that we can use in a time signature that means dotted quarter note. So we are stuck, unfortunately, just counting up how many eighth notes there are in this measure and saying, hey, there are 6 eighth notes here. We'll use a time signature of 6/8. To me, this is a real weakness in the notation system that leads to a lot of confusion. So often we are taught that 6/8 time signature means that there are 6 eighth notes in the measure, so we should count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I suppose at some level that's true. But of course, 3/4 measures also have 6 eighth notes in them. So here's how I like to think of the real difference between the two meters. In 3/4, we have 3 beats per measure, with the quarter note being the unit of beat, and each of those quarter notes is a simple subdivision into 2 equal eighth notes. So 3 beats to the bar, each beat having 2 eighth notes in it. 6/8, on the other hand, those same 6 eighth notes are grouped together into threes. So 6/8 really means there are 2 beats to the measure, and the dotted quarter note is getting the beat. And the first subdivision of that beat is into 3 equal parts. Now, if we have meters where the eighth notes are going the same speed, right? And this is what I was playing with in our song earlier. If we go from 6/8 feel to 3/4, it feels like the beat speeds up. 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and, right? Think about Bernstein and West Side Story, or if you're a classical musician, you can think of all kinds of examples of people playing with this very thing. Okay, so that's my little rant. Here is our phrase from earlier in both 3/4 and 6/8 side by side. Again, those slurs are just standard for showing the tonguing. Here's both of them in Na-Kai tab. The first examples are at the sounding pitches for the A flute that I was using today. I will try to put a downloadable PDF of this file in the description box so that you can review it if you want. It is an afternoon in July in Florida, and so we are having our daily thunderstorm. So if you hear rumblings going on in the background, don't worry about it. That's all that's happening. Okay, have fun. I will see you next time.